Hackers plant Raspberry Pi in bank network. Riverbed brings AI observability, and Acumera acquires scale computing. Cisco donates their agency, and SNIA wants faster, smarter AI. Cycode uses AI for DevSecOps, and Trump's new tariffs disrupt industries and raise tariffs. All this and more, maybe some snarkasm, all on the Tech Field Day Rundown. Welcome to the Tech Field Day Rundown, where each time we meet, we run down the IT news of the week with a variable degree of snarkiness. I'm your host, Alistair Cook, and I would like to welcome you to Root Beer Float Day. I'm also welcoming for the first time to the Tech Field Day Rundown my friend, Mr. Jeffrey Powers. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Is Root Beer Float Day in New Zealand or here in the United States?
Well, I think it's there in the United States, along with National Wiggle Your Toes Day. And wiggling your toes is important if you're flying from here in New Zealand up to the United States. You've got to keep the blood flow going.
Absolutely. Blood flow is very important. So, Jeffrey Powers, you can find me at geekazine.com and builddaylive.com for enterprise build needs.
It is also National Social Engineering Day, or as I like to call it, National Kevin Mitnick Day, the master of social engineering.
Love Kevin Mitnick.
We start with an interesting story where a cyber robbery group known as UNC 2891, that's a catchy name, used a Raspberry Pi device to infiltrate a bank's ATM network. The device was installed in an unmanned ATM location, and the hackers initially used a cellular connection to initiate their attack. And it seems that their plan was to gain control of the ATM network and extract cash. Modern-day bank robbers are sophisticated. Don't need guns or masks, do they, Jeff?
No, they do not need guns or masks. You know, it's really funny because every time that I go to a pump, I go to any type of ATM, I insert anything that I have to insert my card or tap my card and run my hand across it and see if that thing just pulls off. If it doesn't have a protection sticker on it, I do not pump the gas. Same thing with ATMs and even cashless registers that are in the store, because you might think that they're safe from skimmers, but you have all these reports that scammers are actually getting inside the store, maybe through a disgruntled employee that, getting a couple dollars on the side, turns the cheek, whatever. So, and I always have to ask people, when was the last time you used the McDonald's kiosk? And have you ever thought of checking those card readers before you started the card? Now, this news story is the greatest reminder that even in enterprise IT, especially if you're in the financial enterprise IT area, risks come in from physical vandalism and physical hacking. It's not just enough to secure the software. You need a full stack physical security, access control, and monitoring all involved in this. And the threat vector we have here, it wasn't a bug, but it's a box the size of a wallet. For IT pros, this is the kind of breach that slips past traditional defenses. And it's time to actually start thinking about planning different types of hardware and software layers to make sure that if a device is planted, your credit card or other personal information is safe. And to top it off with a good security system that can identify maybe through AI and that being physically altered that event happening, so police can track them down. A sensor inside the machine that could identify weight or difference. Card slides in a little bit differently. All of a sudden could create an instant pop-up on those screens saying, hey, this kiosk has been compromised. And finally, a system that identifies possible risks and ways to record every bit of information. So when a kiosk is compromised, law enforcement have enough data to find the person that did it. And that can all happen at the server level. And I think that that's where we need to see, news stories like this and how we have to counter them. Riverbed has launched new AI-powered tools to improve network monitoring, including the Intelligent Network Observability Essentials Bundle and the XX90 appliances. These updates help businesses manage growing data and their cyber threats using AI to spot and fix issues faster. Key features include tools for visualizing network activity, AI-driven alerts, and better support for cloud and on-prem setups. The new XX90 hardware boosts speed and storage for analyzing network traffic. Riverbed has also introduced a flexible subscription plan and says its observability sales grew 92% in early 2025. Alistair, do you think that's true? 92%?
It's a huge amount of growth, but it depends where you started from. If your observability practice was small and just beginning, your growth can be huge. We know that over time it takes a while to move those needles. But I think it is interesting to see Riverbed adding more and more observability, uh, seeing what's happening in real time and getting that feedback loop back to application developers and operations teams is vital. And we've always seen Riverbed as about application delivery management. Well, observability is an extension of that to seeing far deeper into the applications themselves. So this brings together a couple of things. I really like that there's a plugin for Grafana, which is an enabler for creating custom dashboards and getting open source tools for visibility in your environment. It's really nice to see that they're not locking you into using just their own tooling. Having an AI tool that looks at what's going on, it'd be interesting to see how that AI tool plays out, how actual AI it is, and whether it is more of a exception handling and identification, which will be more of the predictive AI that we've seen historically in management tools, or whether there's something more in the generative AI. And I really would need to dig into a little deeper into that. Hopefully, we'll see Riverbed at an upcoming Tech Field Day event showing us some of the depths of this, and particularly showing us some of these amazing high performance devices with sustained packet capture of over 50 gigabits per second being dumped out to up to 2 petabytes of storage in these XX90 appliances. So there's some really interesting capabilities in these. Acumera has acquired Scale Computing and is retaining the Scale Computing name for the combined entity. Acumera's secure edge networking joins Scale Computing's virtualization technology, and they plan to be a major disruptor in the edge computing networking, helping businesses run AI and other applications across many locations. This move aims to simplify operations, improving performance, and serve industries like retail, manufacturing, and hospitality. The former CEO of Scale Computing, Jeff Reddy, will serve as the president and chief marketing officer, and the company plans to expand its global reach with smarter and more efficient edge solutions. This pairing together and staying under the branding of Scale Computing looks like a really cool move, doesn't it, Jeff?
Well, we'll see what happens on that. I think they're just kind of saying, "Hey, scale computing's in a move where they're basically shouting, we swear, edge isn't buzzwords and boxes anymore." And sure, if you're an IT manager that has like 100,000 fast food locations, this type of marriage might mean smoother orchestration, real time AI at the edge, and one less reason to call your SD-WAN vendor, but just kind of tell them that the shake machine's still down. Getting more real, let's kind of pretend that this is all plug and play magic, which it might. It's still edge. That means remote boots, means compliance. We've got troubleshooting boxes. You'll have to troubleshoot in Omaha, Seattle, and Miami from your bed at 2 a.m. in the morning with the only screen on being your laptop screen on bright. But, hey, now it comes with an all-in-one interface with prettier dashboards and a bigger sales team. On the security front, it might solidify them as being the absolute best in cybersecurity for edge computing in a distributed enterprise, but only time will tell if they can take that belt home with them. AGNTCY, a project that helps AI agents work together across different systems, is now part of the Linux Foundation, backed by companies like Cisco, Dell, Google Cloud, Oracle, and Red Hat. As more platforms create their own tools, AGNTCY aims to unify them with open standards for discovering, identifying, messaging, and monitoring agents so they can easily collaborate like humans do. By donating the full framework to the Linux Foundation, AGNTCY ensures that the project stays open, it stays neutral, and community driven, helping building trust foundation for agent based AI systems across the industries. So, Alistair, is this type of system better as an open source cross platform type thing, or did they make a mistake?
Well, I think it's definitely one of those situations where we're seeing a plethora of standards turning up in agentic AI. So agentic AI is where some AI system is not just doing an analysis, but it's completing a task. And normally it's a small task, and you build a larger system out of a series of small agents doing very specialized tasks. The agency framework aims to make it easier to use agents that aren't just from a single vendor. So you don't have to commit yourself entirely to just one company's agent mechanisms. You can combine agents from different vendors. Interesting that this came out of Cisco, was actually from Outshift, a component of Cisco, and supported by Dell and Google Cloud and Oracle and Red Hat. And so there's a bunch of people behind Agency. It's a related standard to the A to A standard that we've previously seen, so A to A communication between agents, and is sort of sits in parallel to the Model Context Protocol (MCP) standard that we've seen as well. I think it's a sign that agents and agentic AI are starting to mature when we get beyond a vendor who says you have to come to us and get everything because we're the only ones with a vision. And we get to the more mature position of we'll have agents that are working on our technology, and they'll interact with agents that are working on other vendors' technology. I think that element of being able to build a multi-agent software lifecycle across different vendors is really important. And the only way that happens is through standards that aren't entirely owned by a single industry organization. So putting this framework out into the Linux Foundation, absolutely, it's a good move. Time will tell which of the standards we're actually going to use over time. We've seen this previously, that there were a whole lot of different ways of doing orchestration of containers, and eventually Kubernetes won out. We will see the same thing here. Eventually, the collection of standards or the single standard that unifies will emerge as a popular acclaim. SNIA, the Storage Networking Industry Association, believes that CPUs could be a bottleneck between storage and GPUs in AI systems. The Storage.AI initiative places the storage on the same ultra-fast network as the GPUs, and it appears that the optimal infrastructure design for AI infrastructure is still very much a moving target. Jeff, where should I attach my storage in my AI infrastructure?
Well, first of all, Gesundheit. And that's a good question. Where should we? Because it looks like SNIA has just kind of hit the panic button right there. Hopefully, it's going to bring together industry leaders, rethink how we feed that AI beast. Enterprises are always basically burning through power, they're burning through dollars, and they're burning through IOPS because their infrastructure just wasn't built for that AI pipeline. So hopefully this project will look at aiming to create vendor neutral standards for AI optimized storage through high throughput, through low latency, through tiered data flow. For IT leaders, it's a future proofing move. If you're not storing data anymore, you're feeding intelligence engines that basically needs a whole new playbook, and that's where they need to start writing here. I consider it to like back in the day when we had to compress files to save disk space and transfer rates. But I've even been using AI to knock down some of my storage needs, running programs that find duplicate files on systems and kind of nixing them, finding out which one's the better one, finding systems that actually can be reduced, so there is more storage. But then that means there's more storage to be had and more files to be had, and then we run into the same problem and we run into the same hardware limitations from there. So we'll see what happens on this whole thing, if it actually does help us in the future. Cycode has added an AI tool to its security platform that helps teams figure out which software issues are the most dangerous so they can fix them first. Obvious. It also offers other AI tools that suggest fixes and track code changes. These tools give better context and reduce false alarms. As AI creates more coding mistakes and hackers to use AI to find them, having smarter security tools is becoming more important. With new rules and sharpened responsibility between developers and security teams, keeping software safe is now a bigger focus. Do you agree, Alistair?
Well, I think there's an arms race going on between bad actors and software developers or the infrastructure and DevSecOps teams. And that's not news, it's just a change in the tooling that's being used. So Cycode here is doing some analysis of changes that are being made in source code repositories and identifying things like vulnerabilities in those source code repositories. And more than just identifying that a vulnerability exists, but looking at the criticality of that vulnerability, whether there are other mitigations for the base level vulnerability built into the code or particularly the infrastructure around it. The Cycode tools are aiming to make sure that as developers are fixing vulnerabilities, they're fixing the ones that are actually a risk rather than just hitting everything that's got a CVE number assigned to it. I think that's a really important thing because focusing on where the risk lies is vital to making sure that you're safest from compromise. This application security posture management platform that is from Cycode is definitely going to be helpful, particularly if you're working with open source kind of projects as well. But anywhere that there might be a supply chain attack, and we've seen supply chain attacks on people's source code repositories. We covered in the rundown, I think it was last week, around a compromise that was in a plugin for Visual Studio Code that was allowing an attack through that Visual Studio Code plugin. These kinds of elements of code coming in from external sources needing to be analyzed and needing to be looked at for changes. This is exactly where Cycode is attacking with these AI agents, and we should see this being really helpful. Future Group surveys found that these kinds of DevSecOps automation tools and cybersecurity orchestration are really important things for our customers, and that they really are looking for ways to help reduce the risks around the high speed and open development of applications that they have. It's time for us to take a little bit of a closer look, and it's a topic that's getting a lot of mainstream news coverage and is definitely impacting some of the organizations we care about. And it's President Trump's new tariffs on dozens of companies that are shaking global markets and hurting major US companies like Apple, Amazon, and car makers. What's going on is that they're increasing the cost of materials and products that are coming in, and then uncertainties are leading to fairly significant delays in some of those things being shipped. Apple themselves expect to be paying about $1.1 billion in tariffs just this quarter, and Ford estimates $2 billion for the entire year. That's money that's being paid by American consumers into the government's tax funding. The tariffs do aim to fix the trade imbalance, and the tariffs are being levied against foreign companies that sell more products to the United States than they buy from the States. And the objective is that this makes it more competitive for US-based companies to build things, and this takes a while. There's our problem. There's a big lag time between having this tariffs come in and the jobs and the productivity onshore that the tariffs are supposed to encourage. Right now, job growth is slowing because we have that latency between. We have that delay of higher costs for products, but we don't yet have the ramped up production domestically, and it's likely to be some time for that. Experts warn that the economy could suffer as it slows down and more costs are passed on to consumers. And of course, AI rears its head. That some people believe that this AI tools are going to be used to eliminate the people cost and lead to a reduction in employment. Now, historically, we've seen this panic that every new technology is going to take away jobs, and yet we don't have fewer jobs working in IT. We have more jobs caring and feeding those machines over time. So I think it's interesting to see that there's a large list of companies that are uh, having tariffs levied against them here. I live in New Zealand. We have a 15% tariff is being levied against New Zealand because we send you more wine and cheese and dairy products or other meat products than we get from the United States. You know, there's this imbalance. Uh, the president does say that tariffs are vital and that there's no chance for US survival or success without these tariffs. But I think he's a little uncomfortable with the fact that there is a lag between putting the tariffs in and the actual upsurge of US manufacturing and employment. And so this is why we saw a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to the news that the rate of increase of employment in the United States has gone down. It's below the average of 130,000 jobs a month, well, 73,000 jobs added in July, and that wasn't welcome news. Jeff, are you seeing confidence here? I'm not in the United States. I only see this secondhand. Are you seeing confidence and comfort in the United States as a result of these tariffs?
Before I answer that, I'm going to have to invoke my 30% tariff that just happened. So once I get paid for that, then I can reply. Okay, now we're good. So I, this is amazing how one person can think that doing something like this is going to help overall when it has been proven time and time again that it does not work. uh, that going back to that broken wheel and trying to make a new version of that broken wheel is going to do it. And that's what really frustrates me, because we're in the IT area, we see from everything from consumer products all the way up to enterprise products, the things that are just, we can't get to anymore. And we have to have those global tech supply chains, and enterprise IT definitely feeling that ripple effect through the whole thing. I personally had some work put on hold because they don't know what it's basically going to mean for technology and tariffs. That means I'm not working, they're not working, and nobody's winning off of this situation. So with companies like Apple expecting to pay that $1 billion in the quarter, it the cost increases are just accounting lines. They're pressure points, not just accounting lines. They're pressure points across procurement, across infrastructure, rollouts, and end user pricing. And that means potential delays, as you said, in refresh cycles, higher costs of everything. The next iPhone is going to be what, 20 to 30% more. And when Apple tried to move to a different country to relieve themselves on different taxes, we got dinged for that as well. And building let's talk for a second about building infrastructure in the United States to alleviate this whole thing, because you just can't pop up an Amazon store in the middle of Utah or something like that and expect production to happen within under 12 months, because building a plant like that is more than just breaking ground and building the plant itself. Permits, environmental surveys, uh, government getting in the way to try and figure out where their cut's going to come in. And more than that, that's going to take more than 12 months alone. So if we were to build a plant, because we tried this, Foxconn was going to come to Wisconsin and do all this. And they went through so much red tape. They first started in Ohio. They went through red tape. They moved to Wisconsin. And then we ended up not getting Foxconn at all in the United States. So it just doesn't make sense. It's set up for failure. And that's what really frustrates me. Adding in things like AI, stressing infrastructure, that's the only option is to pay. And that means thinning staff and sending these bumps to the client. And that's what's really, I can see it. I don't understand why other people cannot, but I digress.
I think the plan is a long term plan. It involves pain at the moment, and I think that pain is going to take some time to pass. Hopefully, some more of the trade deals negotiations go through, and we see some reductions in these tariffs over time. But that really comes down to the strength of those negotiations, the ability of those negotiating change. Speaking of the real world, we have some things coming up. Jeff, you're going to be in Cleveland for an event in the next couple of weeks.
That is correct. It's going to be my first time at Share Cleveland. This is everything that deals with mainframe. IBM just came out with a new AI mainframe a couple months ago, and we're going to probably see a lot about that. That's going to be, of course, a hotbed topic, is bringing AI into mainframe. We did a podcast on this a couple weeks ago, talking about Share on Tech Field Day, and we all thought the exact same thing, that AI is going to be where it is. IBM's new servers are going to be where it is, and the new direction. that mainframe is going to go to keep people going, keep people secure. And because, we have the issues in New Jersey where getting a flight is just as painful as getting a tooth pulled 7 times over. And so, how is the new direction going to affect finance, going to affect flight, going to affect trains, going to affect buses, and all that other stuff? Like I said, it's going to be my first time, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to expect from there. But we've got a full schedule of different clients that we're meeting and talking to, and it'll be interesting to see where their direction is headed.
And then the next event for us after that is AI Infrastructure Field Day. I'll be heading back to Silicon Valley with my panel of delegates, and we'll be hearing from Broadcom and Hammerspace, Mirantis and Cetera, potentially a bunch of other interesting sponsors also going to talk about how you build an infrastructure to run all of that AI. Following on from that, later in September, Tom Hollingsworth will be back talking all things security again in Silicon Valley. He'll have Nile and SquareX and 1Password as presenting companies for that event. And you can check out all of our Tech Field Day events on the techfieldday.com website. Thanks for watching the Tech Field Day rundown with all of the news that's ready to be run. You can catch new episodes every Wednesday as a YouTube video or on your favorite podcast application. The rundown is streamed on TechStrong TV as well, and you can often catch us at other TechStrong and Futurum Group events and programs. We'll be back next Wednesday to talk about all the IT news of the week. And until then, for myself and for Jeffrey Powers and all of us here at Tech Field Day, is wishing you and yours a great day.